Hey guys, Steph here. How's everybody doing on this beautiful Sunday morning? I am coming to you today to do sort of a get ready with me style video. And while I'm getting ready, I'm going to share with you my Stevens-Johnson syndrome story. So it's going to get heavy. No, it won't get that heavy, I promise. But I'm just kind of taking this opportunity to share with you something that I went through and maybe to connect with others who have gone through that same journey because it is pretty traumatic. And just maybe as an opportunity to raise a little awareness about this condition. And some of the symptoms that lead up to it so that if you are in that boat, you might be able to catch it a little more quickly. So I have got my coffee here and I've got my makeup and I'm ready to get ready for the day. So if you want to grab a cup of coffee and get ready with me, I am not, just so you know, I'm not going to focus heavily on the products. I'll probably show a couple things I'm using, but I'm not going to like focus too heavily on that, more so like just on the story as I get ready. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and grab yourself a cup of coffee and, or, you know, maybe a mimosa if that's how you're feeling today, and we will get right into it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get my face primed, but in the meantime, let's talk about what Stevens-Johnson syndrome is. So it's actually a spectrum disorder. So it starts on the low end as Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and it goes up to something called toxic epidermal necrolysis on the high end. So for the remainder of this video, I am going to refer to that as SJS and 10, just because it's easier than to have to say the full name. So SJS being Stevens-Johnson syndrome, 10 being toxic epidermal necrolysis. So what usually causes this syndrome to happen is an allergic reaction to a medication. There are rare occasions where it can be triggered by like a virus or something like that, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to be triggered by an allergic reaction or your body's immune response to a new medication being involved. In my case, it was triggered by an antibiotic called Bactrim, which is in the sulfa category, and I was prescribed it by my doctor because I had an ear infection and I was about to go on a business trip, and I didn't really want to get like on an airplane with an ear infection. It'd be miserable for the whole week that I was in Florida. So she prescribed me Bactrim for it because I do have allergies to several other antibiotics, and that was kind of like one on the list I hadn't had a bad reaction to at this point. So that's what causes it. What it is, so basically SJS is considered 10% or less involvement of your skin or body. 10 is anything over 30% of your body, and they consider anything from the 10 to 30% range SJS 10 overlap syndrome. So in my case, I had 80% involvement, so technically I had 10, but a lot of times I will just call it SJS because that's more well-known. Now, to be fair, this is not a well-known condition. Actually, most doctors don't even know what to do with you when you get in the door, because most of them spent like 10 minutes talking about it in med school and then moved on because it's so rare. And when I say rare, they consider that less than 20,000 cases per year. It's typically treated in the burn center of a hospital because that's essentially what it does. It basically burns your skin off your body. It burns you from the outside and into the inside. In my case, my eyes were involved. It attacks all your mucous membranes. So your skin on the outside, and then it attacks your eyes. It attacks the inside of your mouth and lips, your tongue. It will even go sometimes down into your digestive tract, your lungs. It can be really, really devastating. At its worst, at 10, there is like a 35% chance of death because of infection involved, and it's really horrible. So if you decide to Google it, be warned that the photos can be very disturbing. And I will link down in the description the news story that I participated in with our local news station back in 2017, shortly after it happened. And there are some photos of myself while in treatment that are included in that story. So just be warned that they can be pretty disturbing. Now, how this began was I started taking the antibiotic for the ear infection, and the very first night that I started taking it, I think I took 2 doses. I spiked a huge fever in the middle of the night, that first night. Like a temperature of 104 degrees, and I was throwing up, and I was so sick. But I thought it was just the infection, you know, kind of one of those like it has to get worse to get better type situations, so I just kind of like blew it off. And I was feeling like not well for several days, but I just figured like the medicine hadn't essentially like kicked in yet, so to speak. So I just kind of like went about my business and continued on. And it took about 5 days before I started getting hives. So I had started the medication on a Wednesday, and I was going to fly to Florida on let me try to think here. I have to think about this, on Sunday. So Sunday night I went to bed and I had to get up super, super early in the morning to go to the airport, like 4 a.m. And when I had not slept well all night, my hands were really itchy, like I had hives, and my lips were a little swollen, but I thought it was like just nervousness about going out of town and stuff like that. So we have a photo bomber back there. What are you doing there, little photo bomber? You want to shut the door for me, at least, so that everybody doesn't look in our bathroom? Hi. Okay. Can you do that for me? Okay, so anyway, so I woke up early that morning and I left to go to the airport. And like I said, I was feeling like I hadn't slept well. My hands were really itchy. My lips were swollen. I remember saying to my friend Robin, who drove me to the airport, that, you know, I was feeling this way, but I thought it was just like nervousness, because this was the first time I'd taken like a long out-of-town trip since my kids were little. At the time, my kids were, I have to think about this, would have been 6 and 3. So I got on the plane, and while I was on the plane, my mouth had this like burning sensation. And I looked inside and there was like a couple of like little white spots, and I thought that I had gotten thrush from the antibiotics, because that can happen sometimes. So I called my doctor as soon as I landed in Florida, and I mentioned that I thought I had thrush. So she called in a prescription for like some sort of thrush medication. So as soon as I got to the hotel, I checked in, and then I went to the nearest Walgreens and I picked up the thrush meds, and I started taking them. And as I was walking back from the pharmacy, like my feet started itching really badly. And so I got back to the hotel, and my like torso was itching too, and I checked, and lo and behold, I had hives all over my body. I just realized I forgot to wet my sponge. I'm going to give my little helper here a job. Can you go run those underwater and then squeeze them out really good for me? Yeah. Thanks. So I got back to my hotel and I discovered that I had hives everywhere. And so I took some Benadryl. Figured this was just a typical allergic reaction. I have a lot of allergies, so this is nothing new to me. So I took the Benadryl, went back to my hotel, grabbed something to eat, and as I was eating my dinner, I discovered not only was my mouth burning, I had now completely lost my sense of taste, which was really weird. So I kept taking the Benadryl, thank you very much, and that night I went to bed and I couldn't sleep because my hands were just, and feet were itching so intensely I couldn't sleep at all. It was just absolutely awful. So I went ahead and I got up in the middle of the night and I looked and my eyes started being all red. I had like a huge red patch on my eye, and I was just in so much pain and so much intense itching feeling that I called my doctor like at, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, what is going on here? This is crazy. And he said, oh, sounds like you've got a typical sulfa allergy. Go to the nearest like urgent care or emergency room, whatever's closer, and they'll give you some prednisone and some antihistamine, and then you'll take a nap. 6 hours later, you're going to be right as rain. No issue. So just go ahead and do that. So I went down to the, what do you call it? The urgent care, or the ER, and they told me, you know, they basically said, yep, you're definitely having an allergic reaction. But they said, are you sure? Like, is this typical, this type of reaction for you? Because it looks more severe than a typical reaction. And I said, yeah, it looks pretty typical. So they gave me, like my doctor said they would, they gave me the prednisone. I went and got it filled. I went back to my hotel. I took a nap. And they did tell me at the hospital, they said, if you notice anything weird with your lips in a few hours, or your skin starts peeling, come right back, because we think this might be a more severe case called Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So I went back to my hotel, took the meds, I took a nap, I woke up, and I was 10 times worse when I woke up than when I went to sleep, which was only like a couple hours. So I went into the bathroom and I looked at the skin on my lips looked super weird. Like it looked like it was loose. And so I called my mom because I didn't know what to do. And I had a couple blisters inside my mouth. And she was like, you know, maybe to be on the safe side, you should just go back and get checked out. So I went back to the hospital and I sat in that dang waiting room for like 3 hours waiting to be seen. And when I got there, they were like, yeah, we're just going to keep you for observation. We're going to put you on like IV steroids. We're going to keep you on observation for like a few days. And, well, not a few days, but like 24 hours at the time. And we'll just kind of see how it goes. And, you know, hopefully we'll see significant improvement. I honestly thought, so I was scheduled to be in Florida for, pardon me, I have a little question. Can I help you?
Yes? Are you talking about the time your skin peeled off?
Yes, I certainly am talking about that situation. I really thought I was going to be in the hospital for maybe a day. Well, they, you know, just kind of got some IV antibiotics. And at this point now, my vision was incredibly impaired. I couldn't see anything. My feet and hands were so swollen, I couldn't hold things. I couldn't walk because of the pain. I mean, it felt like my feet and hands were on fire, and my lips as well. So after 2 days of being in observation and not improving, actually getting worse, the rash was spreading all over my body at this point. They called in dermatology for a consult. And I remember that dermatologist, she went out into the hallway and she got on the phone with somebody, I don't know who, and started reading them the absolute riot act about the fact that they had waited 2 days to call her. And she said, this is one of the few dermatological emergencies we have. And she came back in and said, you've got Stevens-Johnson syndrome. I'm nearly sure of it, but I'm going to take a couple biopsies to be sure. So she did a couple biopsies, 3 of them, which I have lovely scars now on my thighs. She came back shortly after looking at those under a microscope and said, yep, you've got Stevens-Johnson syndrome. You are in critical condition and we need to transfer you to the burn unit ICU immediately so we can start you on something called IVIG, which is intravenous immunoglobulin therapy. And I actually am quite glad that even though it was very stressful because I was 1,500 miles away and I had like no family or friends close by and I was all alone, I'm actually quite glad that I was in Florida because that particular hospital treated me with IVIG. I had found out that locally here in Michigan where I live, that is not a typical treatment that they use. They don't consider it effective. For me, it works very well. And I will say I was in Tampa, Florida at Tampa General Hospital. And so shout out to all the nurses who work, especially in the burn unit there. They were absolutely wonderful. They gave me great care and they were so sweet and wonderful and caring and amazing. But anyways, so I got transferred and they had me set up on all these IVs and I had all this stuff and my skin just started like sloughing off and blistering. And I remember like I would go to sleep at night. So I was in the hospital for like 11 days total, I think, or 2 weeks-ish. I would go to sleep at night and I would wake up in the morning and it would just look like a crime scene in my bed. There would just be like blood everywhere, all over my pillow and stuff because my lips and my mouth were just bleeding. I couldn't eat. I had no sense of taste. I had no appetite. I think I dropped somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 pounds in that 2 weeks that I was in the hospital. I went from like 128 pounds down to about 115. And I remember them even saying, like, you need to get some calories in your body because otherwise, like, we're going to have to give you a feeding tube. You've got to do something. So, so I did. I have to go back and say, so I was all alone. So my employer at the time was amazing. And they paid for my husband to fly down to Florida. My parents took my kids for that time and they flew him down. And I totally just messed up my concealer, by the way, because I did that before it was totally dry.
Wait, Nene and Papa took us?
Yes, Nene and Papa took you. So, sorry, I gotta dry that and redo. So anyways, so my, I know, it's my skin. So my husband came down to stay with me. And I mean, he couldn't stay at the hospital, he had to stay at a hotel, but he came down to be with me. And so I would send him, when he would come and sit for the day, I would send him down to the McDonald's that was in the hospital. I know, super healthy, right? And he would get me like those giant big size Cokes just so that I would get calories in my body so that I didn't have to have a feeding tube. So anyways, he would do that. And meanwhile, so I think I mentioned before I had 80% of my body involved. So I think about the only place I didn't lose skin on my body was maybe on my abdomen. Everywhere else I peeled like a dang chameleon. Or lizard, I guess I was trying to say. I was shedding, and it was a mess. My hands and feet were the worst. I couldn't use them for a long time afterwards because of the swelling and the skin loss and stuff. But anyways, so I went through all this in the hospital, and there was one day that I had spiked a fever and got quite ill, and they were a little concerned that I might be septic, but gave me some Tylenol and stuff, and I ended up being okay in the end. But anyways, so yeah, it was pretty dang traumatic. I actually don't remember a lot of it. I feel like I was in like this weird blur.
Mommy.
Because, yes, darling. Do you have a question?
Why are you saying dang?
Oh, I don't know.
It sounds like the D word.
Yeah, it's not though. So I guess my vision was all messed up. My mouth was all messed up. I felt like I was in this like crazy fog for days and days and days. And I mean, it was nice that my husband was able to come down so I wasn't completely by myself, but this was probably the most scared I'd been in my life, because I really thought like there's a chance here that I might not ever see my kids again. And I didn't want them to see me. We would only talk on the phone. We wouldn't use like video chat or anything because I looked scary. I mean, I looked like the Toxic Avenger or something. I mean, I looked like literally something out of a horror film. It was so horrible. Like, I refused to even look in the mirror at myself because I was so scared of what I was going to see. And I couldn't get any water on me, so I couldn't take a shower or anything. I had to use these caps, these shampoo caps that I would put on my hair, and ugh, it was so disgusting. I couldn't go outside. It was just a really, really horrible time. And then I got released from the hospital, but I had to stay in Florida for 3 days afterwards just to make sure I didn't spike a fever or anything like that.
Mommy.
Sorry, I need a coffee break. Yep. And so I really, can you close that bathroom door for me? Thanks. So I really, I peeled like a bad sunburn for quite a while after that as well. And oh, Josie's gonna do her makeup too.
No, I'm not.
So, oh, my dogs are going crazy. I'm gonna pause you for one moment. All right, sorry about that, guys. So dogs were going a little bit ballistic there. My husband just got back home from the store. So anyways, so I peeled, I think where I left off, I peeled like a lizard. And then about, if you watch my video from yesterday, about 5 months after I got out of the hospital and got back home, all my fingernails and toenails fell off, which was surprising. Apparently, so I did join a community of Stevens-Johnson syndrome like survivors and family members of those who did not survive, unfortunately. And apparently that's quite common for that to happen. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit now about sort of the lasting effects. So let me go back a little bit. Sorry, this is kind of all over the place. It's a little bit like hard to talk about. So, there's a varying range of lasting complications one can have. However, the condition SJS or 10 itself is not considered a chronic condition or pre-existing condition. It's considered an acute condition, and once, you know, you're off the medication and your skin has healed, you are not considered to have it like actively anymore or anything like that. So I don't currently have Stevens-Johnson syndrome. This is something that I had. However, there can be some lasting effects for people. Now, in my case, I was pretty lucky compared to a lot of people. So my scarring on my skin was minimal. I really only have scarring on my arms and legs, and because my skin is so fair, you really can't even see it unless I get like really hot or really cold. Those are like sort of the two times that you can actually tell that I've got some scarring. But there are people who have suffered a ton of scarring like all over their face and you know, in places that are not easy to cover. Because the eyes get involved, there are a lot of people who end up with impaired vision afterwards, or sometimes even permanent blindness. There are people who end up with chronic lung conditions and breathing conditions and digestive tract issues because of the damage that this does to their bodies. So I made out pretty darn good on this because my lasting effects have not been that terrible in comparison to a lot of other people that I know from the community. However, I did have some. So for me, like I said, I have some scarring on my arms and legs. And also I have, this is going to sound weird, but I became lactose intolerant since this all happened. It apparently did some sort of permanent change to my, what do you call it, digestive tract. And so now I have permanent lactose intolerance that I did not have before. And also I have had, what do you call it? Heat and cold intolerance. We're going with some greens today. I'm feeling green. So this is a Fenty one, by the way, and it's gorgeous. I love green eyeshadow. But anyways, what was I saying? So yeah, I have extreme heat and cold tolerance for some strange reason, like to the point where even if my swimming pool is like 80, 90 degrees, I cannot get in it because it feels like an ice bath on my skin. And this has been a lingering issue since I was sick. I also have, wow, that's kind of patchy. That's disappointing. So I also have issues with what I believe is like neuropathy, but like my hands and feet will just burn terribly for no apparent reason whatsoever. Like where it's distracting. I can't even think straight because I have like so much burning in my hands and feet, and my lips. My lips will sometimes turn bright red and like just hurt, like burn. And this is kind of a lasting effect of that as well. It's kind of scary at times, and it happens especially like if I get a virus, like a cold or something like that. This tends to happen. Yeah, like it kind of triggers this reaction, and it hasn't ever progressed beyond that, but when it first started happening, it would really scare me because I thought I was having like another attack again. But it hasn't ever progressed beyond that, so that was good. But I've gone to my doctors. Oh, I also have lingering eye dryness problems, lip dryness problems. I have to put like Aquaphor on my lips every single night because that's the best way I've found to keep them hydrated. I also have dryness in my hands and feet as well because those were the areas that were most affected on my body by this. So those are just sort of some of the lingering effects that I've had. And I will tell you that because doctors in this country, at least, know so little about this condition, when you come to them and say, I realize it's an acute condition, but I'm having lasting effects, they look at you like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we don't know a lot about this. There's no specialists out there who know a lot about this, so you don't currently have it, so just deal with it, basically, which is unfortunate. But there just frankly is not a lot of research or, you know, doctors who specialize in this area, or a lot of like time and effort dedicated to this condition. Why that is, I don't know. I guess because it's so rare, they just feel like it's not worth their time or something. I don't know. But it has, you know, there's definitely been some moments for me that were pretty unpleasant regarding the lasting effects of this and some of the stuff I've had to deal with, but I guess in the long run, I am not that bad off. And I've been pretty lucky. As long as I stay away from that offending drug, which is Bactrim, like I mentioned, and the sulfa drug family as a whole, I should not ever have another issue. However, I do know of people within that SJS survivor community that I'm a part of who have had relapses that were caused by another drug or by like a virus that they, you know, like a cold or flu virus or pneumonia or something like that, that they that re-triggered it. So or because a doctor didn't realize that even though that drug might not be like first and foremost part of that drug class, it might have some sort of ingredient in it that has a little bit of whatever that offending drug was. So it's a tough road. I'll say that my life for the most part is back to normal, you know, pre-SJS 10 days. But I do, like I said, still have those lingering effects. And for me, the most bothersome ones are the cold intolerance and the, and probably the, what do you call it? Why can't I think straight? The burning of my hands and feet because of how distracting that can be. See what I mean? I get all distracted when I talk about this. But anyways, so the main reason I wanted to talk about this today was because I know that there are people out there who have also struggled with Stevens-Johnson syndrome, maybe had a family member who went through this, and I'm just trying to kind of connect some more people to the community, and also to talk a little bit about, you know, awareness for the condition because it's not widely known. And I feel like had I known that there was a problem with my, when I spiked that first fever that very first night, had I realized that that was a sign of something much more dangerous, I would have perhaps been able to seek treatment sooner, and maybe maybe it wouldn't have been as bad as it was. So, you know, I guess my word to the wise is this. And also, I want to mention that I don't believe that all medications are bad. I'm not saying I swear off all medications. And I don't think that like doctors are bad. I don't blame my doctor for prescribing that to me. She had absolutely no way to know I would have that type of reaction. This wasn't on her at all. I didn't have a previous history of allergy to this drug or anything. It was not anything on her part or anything on the pharmaceutical company's part. It was just my body didn't like the medication. And I'm not out here to tell people they shouldn't take medication because of this or worry that this is going to happen to them, because it is very rare, but it does happen. So if you take a new medication and suddenly spike a fever, this would be a good time to go ahead and call your doctor. Now, the only worry I have about this, though, is the fact that sometimes, you know, a doctor might think, well, you've got an infection, so obviously you'd have a fever or have, you know, some sort of like, you know, you might have vomiting or whatever. And they might not even realize that this is what this is. So I also kind of wonder, like, had I called my doctor, would they have thought the same thing as me and just gone like, oh, it's just because you're sick and, you know, don't worry about it, just wait it out. That's, you know, they wouldn't have known. So I don't know. I don't know if it would actually have done me much good, because I can't say for certain whether or not my doctor would have caught it either. And I will tell you that when I got back to Michigan and I went to my primary care doctor for a follow-up, they called everybody and their brother in the dang room to come look at me because I was such an anomaly with having been their first patient ever in that doctor's office to have this. So that was kind of fun. Oh, isn't this eye look so fun? It's definitely not something for everyday wear, but I just felt like doing something fun today to kind of lighten the mood. So, good takeaways. I need some more coffee from this whole situation. are that I definitely didn't need to get a pedicure for like 2 years after this, because after all the skin fell off of my feet, they were like the softest baby fine feet that you would ever imagine. And I attribute Stevens-Johnson syndrome to the fact that absolutely no one can believe that I'm going to be turning 40 this year, because Stevens-Johnson syndrome is like the chemical peel microdermabrasion treatment of a lifetime. Really, I mean, you can't beat it. I feel like it took years off of my complexion. And so, you know, in the long run, maybe it was a good thing. I don't know. And, well, I also obviously know now that I am allergic to sulfa medication, so I won't be taking that again. That's for sure. Sorry, I make so much noise. I really should get this out ahead of time. I'm just using my lash curler really quickly to apply my mascara. Yeah, so if you are out there, if you have ever heard of Stevens-Johnson syndrome, if you've had it, you know somebody who has, please comment down below. I would love to connect with you if you're aware of it. I know maybe this was a little like bit of a haphazard kind of video today. That was kind of a weird subject matter and whatever, but I thought, well, I'd like to take the opportunity to talk about it in case somebody, you know, maybe has it right now and they're in the hospital not knowing what the heck is going to happen next and laying in the hospital just like watching YouTube videos because they have nothing else to do. Because I will tell you, all I did while I was in the hospital for like those 2 weeks was watch. They had this like movie channel in the hospital, and they had every single Melissa McCarthy movie ever made on this channel for some reason. So I will definitely say that I have seen every single Melissa McCarthy movie, and she is hilarious. I love her. I didn't even realize that till I spent that time in the hospital. But anyways, so yeah, so maybe you are in the hospital with us right now and you're just watching YouTube videos because you have nothing better to do. Comment down below if you are an SJS survivor that is like newly out and you have no idea what to expect next because things change every single day. That is true. You'll end up with new weird symptoms that crop up and you want to talk more about it or need a little support. I would love to connect with you. So if that's the case, feel free to leave a comment down below, or you'll see my Instagram linked in the description. Feel free to send me a DM. I am always happy to talk to people about this or talk them through this condition. I actually was talking to a lovely woman last night from Tennessee who just got out of the hospital like in the last week with SJS, just talking to her about like ways to take care of her feet, things that she could do to help make her life a little bit better. We talked about her going back to work and stuff like that and what to expect in the future with this. And I really enjoyed talking to her, and I hope I was a help to her to some degree to kind of get her through this mess, because it is really scary and it is really, I don't know, you feel helpless, you feel hopeless, you have no idea what to expect next, and it sucks. It really sucks. And this isn't just this medical condition. There are other medical conditions like that out there. And it does kind of apply to the beauty community because a lot of times after people have Stevens-Johnson syndrome, their skin changes. They have different skin needs. Their skin becomes more sensitive. They have to use different products. And so I think I might actually do a video on that later on like skincare for people who have skin issues, sensitive skin, primarily SJS, just to kind of help those people out with that type of stuff. So I hope that you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about me and this condition today. I hope you enjoy this really sweet green eye look I came up with. This is so fun. I really look forward to wearing this out when we can go back in public again because this is I really like the way that turned out. But anyways, so I hope you guys did. I forgot to do my lips, I just realized. What color do I want to do for my lips? I think I'm going to do like more of a nude gloss color. Anyways, so you know, I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about, I shouldn't talk while doing this because it gets all stringy and weird, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, about me and what I went through. Please know that I am doing well. I did have some PTSD issues after this, but I did seek counseling for it and I do feel a lot better. I actually had to take my first antibiotic ever about 3 months ago since this happened, which was terrifying for me. I actually set the bottle down. I took it to work and I set the bottle down on the desk in front of me, and my heart was racing, and I was like, couldn't catch my breath, and I just sat there staring at it because I was so terrified to take it. I mean, it wasn't a sulfa drug, so it shouldn't have caused problems, but taking something new is scary to a person who has had this happen. But I took it, and I was fine, and I had no side effects, and it was fine. And it was nothing to worry about. But I did suffer through some of that at first. Counseling was very effective, so I encourage anyone who has gone through a traumatic experience like that to seek it out. There are counselors that specialize in PTSD, and it is really, really helpful in helping to cope through it and get through it. So I would highly recommend that. But anyways, like I was saying, if this is something you've suffered through, or if you feel like a conversation with me might help you in some way, shape, or form, please reach out to me either via Instagram or by commenting on this video below. I'd love to connect if this is something that you've experienced yourself or a loved one has and you'd like to know more. If you would like to see more videos in the future, more get readies with me, look tutorials, possibly like product reviews, subscription boxes. I do have my cause box coming today, so I can't wait to open that up for you later. But if that's something you're interested in, please hit that subscribe button down below, and if you click the little bell next to it, you'll be notified every time I upload new content. I would love to hear from you, so please comment and give me a like if you enjoyed this video. And I'm sorry I'm kind of rambling. This was kind of a weird subject and video for me today, but I did enjoy chatting with you, and keep an eye out for that cause box unboxing video. So have a great day, guys. Enjoy your Sunday, and